This exclusive bullshit is getting out of hand. Throughout 2020, Earthrise's main line was gutted of all its actually desirable figures, such as Runabout, Ironhide, and Ratchet, and all 3 Coneheads, which were instead relegated to the status of store exclusive. This meant that if you weren't there refreshing the store pages of Target, Amazon, Pulse, or whatever else you buy your shitty toys from, ready to snipe like Lee Harvey fucking Oswald hopped up on heroin, you were just shit out of luck forever. My only Earthrise Conehead to this day is Sandstorm. Adding insult to injury is that every single Target within my state and the one next door refused to stock any of their exclusives, meaning I had no idea whether or not the team I was looking forward to the most to complete would actually be completed. Well, you've read the title of the fucking video. Welcome to Kit Reviews. My name is Kit, and today we'll be taking a look at Transformers Studio Series Deluxe Class LEADFOOT. This heroic Autobot was released in 2020 as a Target exclusive, and represents LEADFOOT's appearance in the 2011 film Transformers Dark of the Moon. Rounding out the Wrecker race car crew is LEADFOOT, who transforms into the 2010 or 2011 Chevrolet Impala NASCAR stock car, driven by NASCAR and Formula One driver and current IMSA driver Juan Pablo Montoya. I can't decide whether I prefer LEADFOOT's or Roadbuster's alternate mode, because, let's face it, Topspin can't compete, since Roadbuster is really interesting and dynamic, while LEADFOOT is more well-rounded, which is a joke I probably should have saved for Robot mode. Like Topspin, LEADFOOT is flat and low to the ground, but he's sleek with a powerful front end. He's the only one of the trio to actually feature his primary sponsor. Gee, can you guess why? The logo of which really helps keep this front end from looking boring. The 42s are low to the ground as if they're on barge boards, and there's tons of mechanical detailing along the sides. The rear end wants you to believe LEADFOOT is running a high rake setup if it weren't for those heel spurs and Achilles tendons dragging themselves along behind him. Up top, LEADFOOT has some honest-to-God fucking jet engines. Who does he think he's racing for, Brabham? Now, you might be wondering why I've been showing him so bare. Sadly, at the time I could only find this figure for a reasonable price, loose and incomplete. I'm only missing his 2 missile pods, which I hear don't even peg securely, so I can live without them. Otherwise, LEADFOOT comes with a Gatling gun that can peg onto the roof, as well as these 2 machine guns that are supposed to tab in above the windows, but their connections can get fucked. Tabbing them down on the flanks is much more secure on my copy. Out of the trio, LEADFOOT's transformation is far and away the best, as it's the only one of the 3 that's actually any fun. Surprisingly, it's clever in how it uses the mass of the vehicle mode to achieve his unique robot mode, and only dances around the subject of shell forming like a polite gentleman, while Roadbuster and Topspin broach the subject at every opportunity, like a vegan. Frustratingly, a few of the tabs in vehicle mode are too solid for my liking, and some of the tabs in robot mode aren't nearly solid enough, though we'll get to the latter later. Otherwise, LEADFOOT is a treat at the deluxe scale, and is probably one of the best figures in his class transformation-wise, with a nice balance between simplicity and involvement. LEADFOOT's robot mode is easily the best of the bunch. Whatever your opinions about the Michael Bay Transformers aesthetic may be, LEADFOOT has a very distinct, characterful build and design, and his Studio Series figure captures it nearly perfectly. With the entire front of the car forming a massive gut, LEADFOOT's robot mode is evocative of a stereotypical NASCAR fan, if there are any left at least. Sadly, this chest is the weakest part of him, literally that is, as the slots on these faux window panels are not nearly tight enough to keep hold of the tabs on his shoulder joints, so that moving his shoulders at odd angles can dislodge them pretty easily. At least they stay in place if you don't fuck with them. Luckily, that's really the only problem I have with this mode, as the rest is damn good. The head sculpt plays into the stereotype further, facsimiles of a beard and bald scalp, along with those sunglasses. He looks ready to tailgate at Darlington, if you ask me. The rest of the robot mode is pretty utilitarian, with the only real kibble being this backplate, which isn't much of a problem, especially when compared to Roadbuster's turtle shell and Topspin's wings. Despite how fucking jank Topspin looks, the Wreckers are a nice little motley crew when grouped together. You could easily imagine these guys being good friends and having tons of camaraderie in battle. Now, if only the movie had gone that route instead of just making them Scottish jackasses. I guess the Wreckers died so Q could also die. Like Roadbuster, Leadfoot has two 5mm ports on his shoulders, making room for his Gatling gun. The machine guns are able to go on his arms like I had them in vehicle mode, and the missing missile pods, say that 5 times fast, would remain on his flanks. His final accessory, presumably included to make up for Leadfoot's short stature, is a little statue of Steeljaw, the little dog that never made it on screen but still showed up in Human Alliance. His facial expression makes him look as if he just took a fat shit all over the floor that you just haven't seen yet, and the exhaust pipes on his back are painted in silver. Leadfoot's posability is pretty standard, albeit somewhat limited, with 13 dedicated points of articulation. He's missing some vital joints like a waist swivel, though what Studio Series figure isn't, and that massive gut does get in the way of forward leg movement, which is something I can also say about your mother. Sadly, this extra joint in the leg only bends forwards for transformation, so no double knees for you. The toe joints are also meant for transformation, but are usable here for walking poses. Like I mentioned earlier, using the shoulders can result in the chest unlocking, but the transformation hinge can be used as a limited butterfly joint. Leadfoot's no gymnast, especially with that physique, but he's no slouch either. Well, he might slouch a little, but you know what I mean. I understand why Leadfoot's an exclusive. I expected it, but it didn't make it any less frustrating. I'm not the only collector to complain about this sort of thing, and I suspect I won't be the last. It's really difficult to truly recommend this figure given how infuriatingly hard it was for me to procure, but he really is good. The only worthwhile wrecker, even. While I have some middling gripes regarding poor tolerances in places, he's exactly the kind of quality I'd been wanting from Roadbuster and Topspin. Of course, since he's the only one of the three to actually meet the bar, the other two make him look like fucking Kingdom Cyclonus in comparison. If you find him for $30 or less, even incomplete like mine is, do not hesitate to pick him up. While I rated his brothers as tragic, Leadfoot is nothing short of lovely. If you liked this video or otherwise found it helpful or informative, then please subscribe for more reviews like this in the future, and feel free to suggest topics for future reviews in the comments. Now, before I tease my next review, Dr. Lockdown had some choice words for Earthrise Cliffjumper. I happen to agree with those words. However, when we return, we'll be taking a look at a remold that kinda makes me forget about all that. This has been Kit Katastrophe. Transform and roll out.